All right, welcome to the show. This is Ruthless Obsession. I am your host, Kevin, and keeping it small today. Just me and Drew talking NFL draft. Mostly, we're just gonna riff on a few things. Um, Talk a little bit about the city of Cleveland. They were on display. Who might have messed up in the draft? Maybe some fantasy implications, and then finally, I feel like we have to just mention the Rodgers drama. I'm not going to start there because I'm just not tired of talking about it because I actually haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I don't know. I just don't know how much there is there. So let's start with I don't know. I've found myself in a bit of a surly mood today, Drew. You need to kind of pep me up a bit. You
Well,
doing okay?
let's get hype. Let's get hype.
Is hype raising just raising our hands in the air?
Well, I mean, it's like the psychology of it, right?
Oh my gosh, you know what? 1 second. I know what'll cheer me up.
Okay. So for the audio only listeners, Kevin just stood up, and it appears that he's going to the fridge. So we'll see. We'll see what he got. There we go.
All right. Let the show begin. Mountains are blue. All right.
Boom.
So, Cleveland, my beloved land.
That's your city.
Finally, I'm not from Cleveland, but I love Cleveland. If I were to choose a hometown, it would be that one, even though I've got no business doing that. I was really happy when I found out 2 years ago that Cleveland was going to be a host city for a draft. I remember there were a couple years where the city was petitioning. I don't know. A lot of people probably don't know the process, but ever since they moved it away from just New York, because it was in Radio City Music Hall every single year, they've had cities petition and bid for it, essentially similar to how countries do the Olympics. And Cleveland finally got one, and I was really excited. I wanted to be there. If I wasn't out west and if COVID restrictions weren't a thing, I actually signed up to try to get tickets. But I love that Cleveland had that stage. I love that even more that Cleveland wasn't picking in the top 10 and they could actually be proud of a football team while hosting the draft. I also loved that Orlando Pace got a bigger ovation than Franco Harris when they brought out a bunch of NFL former legends. So that was great. But the only thing I would have changed, I didn't feel like they really did anything that uniquely said Cleveland. I mean, even the performers that they had, Andrew, I'm not sure if you watched a lot of the coverage, but Kings of Leon performed, and that's cool. They're fine, but they're not from Cleveland. And the woman who sang the national anthem, she's a member of Heart. The band Heart from the 80s. She's not, I think that's a Seattle band. They're from Seattle, so she's not from Cleveland. And there's tons of people from Cleveland. I mean, the one thing that was cool was a lot of
ideal, like just band to perform or like Cleveland artists to do some of that stuff.
Anyone. I don't even have a preference. I just, it feels like they should have done that. I'm not knocking it, whatever. It was fine. They have a lot to deal with. Putting on an event that size, it's hard to knock a lot of what they had going on. But, it's like if you're going to book a musical, act, go someone from the region. I don't know. Yeah. But maybe if I had been there, attended, you would have seen more. But one thing that was cool was a lot of the presenters that presented picks for different teams, not even just the Browns, but for other teams, talked a lot about how a lot of their football roots, whether it be close family members that were fans of the NFL, they were all Browns fans, which isn't that surprising because the last time they were good, it's what your grandparents remember as football. But so that was kind of cool. People kind of pumping Cleveland's chest up. There wasn't a lot of shitting on the city, which was nice, except Jacoby Jones, which no one's even gonna. Not that I'm it didn't hurt me at all. Okay, for those who didn't see it, Jacoby Jones is now announcing a Ravens pick, and he came out on the stage, all cocky and braggadocious, and then mentioned something that you can boo all you want, but I've got a ring, and that's all fine. Jacoby Jones does have a ring. But at least, unless you played fantasy football in the last 10 years and had a bad team in fantasy, or were a Ravens fan, you're not going to remember Jacoby Jones. I mean, it's Jacoby Jones. He's like the James Washington for Steelers fans. He's like the Anthony Hawkins for Browns fans. He was just a guy. He was a special teams player.
He
But
got
yes,
the
he did.
ring for being on the team.
Technically, he got a ring, so
Yeah.
he can have that. No one can take that away from him. So that's all fine. But yeah, I was overall I was happy with the city, and if I think back to other drafts that the New England, Philadelphia, and other cities that have hosted, Tennessee seemed to have a lot of hype around Nashville. But they don't really do a ton, so I'm not complaining all that much. But I would have liked to see, I don't know, some musical artists. I don't know, a little bit more Cleveland related stuff. Do you have anything on that?
Not really. I kind of think that everything that you've been saying would be cool. Like, if you're gonna do something in a city, feature people from that city. That's kind of like, I feel like they do all the time anyway. Like, when they rotate Super Bowls and stuff like that, they get people from that area to come and play and stuff like that. So this is along the same lines. I think I agree with everything that you've said so far.
Let's move on to some actual draft stuff. So we don't do grades here. I don't really believe in draft grades. I read every single article because I want to know what other people are saying about it. But and it might make me feel good for a second or bad for a second, but nobody really knows how good these players are going to be.
Yeah,
I mean, you could go. There are lists and lists of top 10 picks that never were very good or only played a couple seasons, and so.
But and then there's also countless lists that are like, most players who get drafted after the third round are like have longer careers and random stuff like that. Like, they have a whole bunch of featured articles. I do enjoy reading those, though. They're pretty cool.
Right. So, football evaluation, humans control that. They make the decisions. They're making the evaluation. So, and we are inherently imperfect. So, of course, there are going to be some mistakes, some reaches, if you want to call it that. Mel Kiper loves to get down on teams that reach for players. It's like, listen, they like the guy.
Yeah.
If you've missed out, I quote, air quotes, missed out on the best 5 offensive linemen in a draft, and you've got the next 3 that you kind of like, you feel the same about all of them, but the one that felt like a good fit for your team culture just happens to be the third ranked guy in that group. You take him, and you're going to get a little bit grilled by Kiper and those boys, but it's not that big a deal. But from my opinion, there are some teams that I think made mistakes. They might work out just fine, but while since Scotty's not here today, I am going to shit on the Bengals a bit. It's kind of our show's pastime. So there are 3 teams that I think didn't make decisions that I would have made. I'm not paid to do this. What do I know? Wouldn't that be nice?
But we're fans of the game, so we're allowed to have hard opinions on things.
If everybody else can, why can't we?
Yeah.
The Bungles. All right. So they picked number 5 in the first round, and they took Jamar Chase, wide receiver from LSU, Joe Burrow's best friend. And listen, I get it. They want to make their quarterback happy. They want to give him another weapon. But you're talking about a quarterback who just played behind an offensive line that beat the crap out of him all season. The dude tore multiple ligaments in his leg. I think he's going to be lucky to get back for training, the beginning of training camp. It was that bad. It was like as severe a leg injury as you can have without having like obviously permanent damage. And their offensive line's not good. It's not the worst in the league, but they have issues to address. And to the way the draft fell, they had their pick of offensive linemen, their pick. And there were 2 tackles that many people are saying are going to be set it and forget it for a decade. So, and also, you're talking about a Bengals team. You're talking about a Bengals team that has Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, and I think Auden Tate. I mean, that I don't know who their tight end is.
Well, and they
He
have
might
Joe Mixon too, so it's not
and Joe
like
Mixon.
yeah, it's not like their running game's even bad. They have weapons already. They
They,
don't
they've
need
got
weapons.
weapons. Right. Jamar Chase might be their best wide receiver now at this point, but do they need him? No. I mean, so that's all I'm saying. Like, as someone whose team constantly picks in the top 10, top 5 of drafts, you in that spot, you can't really win, you can only lose. And choosing the player you choose has just as much to do with winning football games as it does to have your fan base feel good. I mean, because we don't know if these guys are going to pan out, really, you don't want to be the one that passed up on like that made an obviously bad football decision, you know.
Yeah.
And your teams, for as long as my team's been drafting up high in the drafts, especially the first round. I've never been upset with taking offensive linemen. Just do it. I mean, you start building your team with the offense and defensive line. Maybe that's just my philosophy, but like all these flashy guys, they come and go.
But the line is what matters. We've have had that like small conversation on here as well because um I mean Joe Burrow is only going to be as good as he can stay healthy. If they can't keep him healthy, if he's getting injured every single year, I mean he might just retire soon, like early because
Andrew Luck,
Andrew Luck. Yeah, look at it. I
oh,
mean,
R.I.P.
it's
I love Andrew Luck. I wish so badly that he was still playing.
I do too.
Just as a guy, he seems like a genuine person. He's hilarious to listen to him talk. His voice is very incredibly distinct.
But he
Not
was
that
good.
matters all
He
that
was
much.
so good.
He
And
was good.
never got protected, got hurt too much, retired way too soon. I mean, this is like Scotty talks about Joe Burrow in the highest regard, how he's going to be some future Hall of Famer, blah, blah, blah. He won't be if his career gets shortened because he gets hurt all the time. I mean,
Andrew Luck. So they did start to put a good offensive lineman around him in his last couple of years before he retired. But by then the damage had already been done. You know what I'm saying? Like he was already to the point where he didn't want to play anymore, didn't want to risk any more injury, and have long-term effects from that. So I can't knock the Colts organization. Actually, ever since Frank Reich got there, I do think they've been him and Chris Ballard. They've been making some good decisions. But another team, I want to move on from the Bengals. We talk too much Bengals on this show. I'm like it irritates me a little bit. But what are you going to do? We talk a lot of Cleveland too. Two more teams that I think, let's just talk about the Jets real quick. So they picked number 2, and they took quarterback Zach Wilson from BYU. And in my appraisal of the Jets draft, is particularly their first 2 picks in the first round, they also had a pick in the second round pretty high. They took a wide receiver out of Ole Miss, who's actually pretty good. It might just be because I don't like Zach Wilson. And there were 3 quarterbacks I liked more than Zach Wilson that got taken after him. But I don't know. Like you take a quarterback who I don't think is very good. He rose up, after football was done playing. After people started really looking at tape and all the yada yada. He was never really talked about, a year ago, 2 years ago, as one of the top guys to be drafted. He played at BYU against not a lot of good competition. And I actually think Colin Cowherd, I heard him talking about, and I looked it up afterwards. And I don't have the exact stats for you, but when Zach Wilson played against teams that had 10 or more wins last year, he was awful. He had more picks than interceptions. But all the bad teams that he played against, he crushed them. So like, what do you do with that? Like when you're evaluating tape, and I'm not a pro scout, but I've done a little bit of scouting, but you're looking for the characteristics, the skill set, and that kind of stuff. And a lot of people are comparing him to like a young Aaron Rodgers and stuff. I just don't see that anywhere.
well, I
I mean,
I also think it's a little difficult, like going based off of college tape to know how they're going to fare out in the NFL. I mean,
what are you supposed to go off of if you can't go off the college tape?
well, I'm just saying like quality of players is going to be a lot better in the NFL than it is when you're playing for like BYU against the teams that they play. Like,
well, okay, that might be true, but I'm not sitting here crushing the 49ers for taking the North Dakota State quarterback, because they drafted him because he's got the physical traits that if they okay, so part of a big part of scouting that people don't talk about a whole lot is who are their coaches in college. The coaches at North Dakota State might be fine, good Division II coaches, or whatever the division at North Dakota State is. But an NFL evaluator might look at a player like that and say, oh, I know our coaches are so much better that we could take this kid with all these amazing physical attributes, and we feel really confident that we can make him something even more. Mm-hmm. So that's why the 49ers might have done that. But I don't see that with Zach Wilson. I mean, so anyway, I'm talking about the Jets overall. They did go up and not go up. I think they had a second first round pick, but they ended up drafting an offensive lineman, which is fine. But he's technically a guard. I think he played guard in college, and he might sometimes in college you can play. Even if you play tackle in college, you can get drafted and plan to play at guard based on prototypes and all that stuff. But they did go up and get a lineman, which is good on paper, but he wasn't one of the top guys. He's going to be an interior lineman. I don't remember what the Jets tackle situation looks like right now, but it just doesn't. If I'm a Jets fan, and great that we signed Corey Davis, we go get this Ole Miss wide receiver in the top of the second round. If I'm a Jets fan, like everybody, like I just want to make this clear, everybody's praising the Jets draft. I mean, at least their top 3 picks. They're saying they got their quarterback, they got an offensive line to help them, and they got a wide receiver. Like, they're setting this kid up for success. They only had a need at quarterback because they traded away Sam Darnold. And if you're telling me that Sam Darnold is definitely worse than Zach Wilson, I just don't see that. I don't believe that. I mean, is there anything to tell us that Sam Darnold is going to be significantly worse than Zach Wilson, or the opposite way around?
I don't think so. I mean, Sam Darnold, like, I think he's not terrible. I mean, he's really not. I'm curious to see how Sam Darnold does, like, over the next 5 years. I mean, it'll be really telling to see the comparison.
Well, the Panthers took a corner in the I think with the eighth or ninth pick. I think the eighth. JC, the guy you liked, JC Horn.
JC.
I think
it was Hayes, right?
I think it's JC Horn.
Oh, okay. Well,
it doesn't matter.
Regardless.
Well, I mean, it does matter. The guy, whatever. But they took a corner, so they could have taken Fields. Fields was available. Mac Jones was available. So if they wanted a top quarterback, they could have gotten him. But Sam Darnold's going to have a chance to start for the Panthers, so he can't be that terrible.
Yeah.
I just, and part of me doesn't care all that much if the Jets had a bad draft, because for the longest time as a Browns fan, I was thinking, well, at least we're not the Jets. Or at least we also have the Jets that are just as bad. So, the last team I wanted to mention that I just don't know why they didn't make, in my opinion, better decisions is the Steelers. So, with the 24th pick, I believe they took Najee Harris from Alabama. And listen, Alabama running backs, I get it. They almost always pan out, except for Trent Richardson, of course. And I'm not one of those people that says you can't draft a running back in the first round, even though it's kind of become a disposable position, unfortunately, as much as I love them. But the Steelers still haven't addressed their quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
Ben Roethlisberger is breaking down. I mean, he's old. He's been flirting with retirement for the better part of 5 years. I mean, he keeps coming back. It's like one of these things that I just, for the last 6 drafts, I've been saying to myself, well, the Steelers have to draft a quarterback.
They have.
I mean, they have to go. I mean, they have to. I mean, and it's not like they never have done it. I mean, Roethlisberger was the top 15, top 16 pick. I think they picked 16 or maybe 11 actually in whatever year it was. But so it's not like they shy away from that, or always they find a guy late and develop him up. They don't do that. They haven't done that. The quarterbacks they have drafted in recent years are like Dobbs, the guy, Josh Dobbs, I think. Can't remember what school he went to. I think it was an SEC school. Obviously Mason Rudolph, and maybe a small group of others. But actually hours before the draft, I was saying to myself, you know what? The Steelers are going to trade up and we get Justin Fields, and I'm going to have to root against Justin Fields, and I'm going to hate it. But they didn't do that. I mean, here's the current quarterback situation for the Steelers. They got Big Ben, who's at least going to play one more year. Then they just signed Rudolph to a 1-year extension, so he's on the team. And they got Dwayne Haskins. I think the Washington released him. They picked him up.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe Dwayne Haskins can work out. But from everything that we've seen, I mean, he played almost a full season. Yeah. It's going to take a lot of coaching. And do we even know if the Steelers quarterback coach is any good? I mean, do they have great offensive
coach anybody? It's
right, exactly.
Ben,
and it's not like Big Ben's been sitting there and all of these Steelers backups that they drafted or just got and developed. It's not like they've gone elsewhere because Big Ben wouldn't go away. So it's not like that.
Yeah.
So like, I just don't. And listen, Steelers running backs, they've got Snell, Anthony McFarland, and Kalen Ballage. Obviously, you need to do something there. But like, let me just read as of today, as of May 6th. Here's just like 4 just running back names that they're not going to make you a winning football team necessarily, but they can play the position. Okay. Adrian Peterson's available and Frank Gore is available. Old guys, I get it, but they bring some stability to the position. You know what to expect from them. TJ Yeldon and Todd Gurley. I mean, you're telling me that you can't, for at least one season, go out and I didn't mention Le'Veon Bell. He is also available, but we weren't going to go there for the Steelers.
They won't take him back.
Right.
So
you're telling me that Todd Gurley, you wouldn't bring him in for just a year to get, I don't know, 10, 12 carries a game while you're giving the rest to like Snell and Ballage? Like, why not?
I think that the Steelers are probably sitting there thinking Harris is going to be a lot better than Snell over the next 3 to 5 years, right? That's got to be their train of thought, is let's get him. So why not go out and get somebody like, Adrian Peterson for a year to help mentor Harris?
Yeah.
That could be something, but I don't see the Steelers doing that. They're a very
I mean pre-draft. What I'm saying is that you don't need to take Najee Harris there. I mean, you have other long-term needs. And again, I think, just for the record, I think Najee Harris is going to be great. When he was drafted, and just watching his highlights, just to give myself a refresher on what this guy can do. I said he's going to be the next another Willie Parker for the Steelers, and Willie Parker was great. I actually think he's wearing the same number 22 for him. But what I'm saying is that running backs come and go. I mean, Leonard Fournette was available last year. I mean, he signed just a 1-year contract with Tampa again. He's going to be a free agent after this season. Yep. It's like, that's Leonard Fournette. He just won the Super Bowl. He was a contributor to that team.
Exactly.
So you can find Leonard Fournette's places. You can't find franchise quarterbacks places. You just can't. If you could, we wouldn't have 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 6 picks, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That makes
so that's my point. And of course, it's the Steelers. It's going to work out for them. They're gonna strike gold somewhere. But I just don't understand why they're making the decisions they are. But hey, I'm not in the room, right?
Yeah, I'm not a Steelers fan, so it's fine. They can.
But we are. But we're fans of the game.
We are, but I don't mind seeing them fail though.
Dude, I cannot wait until Big Ben retires, or I don't want him to get injured, but he's not playing anymore for the Steelers, and they're left with Mason Rudolph, and they're of course they're going to win 8 or 9 games this season at least. So they'll be picking at like in like the top, like the low 20s again, and they're gonna have to, and it'll be. All I'm trying to say is I'm mumbled up here a little bit. I can't wait for the Steelers to be bad.
It's coming soon.
It's coming. Well, we think it's coming. Okay, let's transition next. Talk about some fantasy implications, and here's where I think that you can really get in on this.
Yeah.
So fantasy and rookies. I have some thoughts. I've got two players in particular that I'm particularly. Well, I just said particular twice in the same sentence. Great audio.
Nailed it.
I am particularly excited to see what they do in fantasy for the teams that drafted them. Do you have anybody that stands out right now, or I can start?
I mean, I would probably draft Harris pretty high, honestly. I think that he's going to be good. And one thing that my teams always lack in fantasy is good running backs. And so I would like to, take him and get like a nice keeper for a while because we do keeper style drafts. But I really like him, and I would also. I'm going to be curious, but I think that Devonta Smith is going to be good, and I'm really excited to hopefully get him as well.
Yeah. I actually, when I was looking through, I wanted to mention him. My only concern with Devonta Smith is Jalen Hurts throwing to him, and I don't think it's going to be an issue necessarily, but I just don't know how pass heavy that team's going to be. And maybe they weren't before because they didn't really have anybody to catch the ball, and they had tons of every single year the Eagles wide receivers are just completely injured. So they're injured. Alshon,
it's always like, oh, they're on their like fifth string wide receiver, and you're picking those guys up in fantasy because you're like, well, they're gonna play. That's all they've got right now. So
yeah, and that's when you get Collinsworth on the broadcast talking about some dude that went to like roast beef tech and what a great story this kid is. Like it was on the floating around practice squad. Well, it's because they're down to their sixth string guy.
Exactly.
And Wentz needed someone to chuck the ball to in the end zone. So, so two players that I'm excited about. Obviously Kyle Pitts, who went to Atlanta, number 4 overall, tight end. Poor Hayden Hurst. I mean, the dude gets traded from Baltimore to go down to Atlanta to replace Austin Hooper, who went to the Browns. And listen, it's Hayden Hurst. I think he was a relatively high draft pick in the top 3 rounds, I think. But he's fine. He's a nice little player. But Kyle Pitts is just gonna explode onto the field, and I mean that dude. He's gonna be between the 4th and 7th tight end taken in most drafts.
This was what the highest tight end pickup in a draft in
a long
time.
A long time. I think the other one might have been Gonzalez, but I'm not sure what pick he was. I know he was in the first round.
But I don't think it was that high. This is like one of the highest tight end picks. So,
but I mean, in a fantasy draft, once you get past Kelsey, Mark Andrews, and maybe Waller, and there's one more big one I'm missing. Who the hell? How am I forgetting the second best tight end of the league? Not Gronk necessarily, but after you get past those top 3 or 4 guys. I mean, you know what? Another thing that's going to help Kyle Pitts get drafted way higher is that you have 2 starting quality fantasy tight ends in Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry that are both now on the same exact team at the Patriots. Yeah. And you don't really know how they're going to be used. I mean, both could be usable, but it might be like an Ebron, Jack Doyle situation from Indianapolis. So that's going to help Kyle Pitts get drafted even higher because I don't think Hayden Hurst is going to have much play anymore if he's even on the team by. I mean, if I were Atlanta, we're pretty good at this position now. We could probably, here you go.
Trade him or something,
Right.
Get some value.
And then the other one is ETN from Clemson that went to Jacksonville. He was Trevor Lawrence's running back in college. Why am I forgetting his first name? But Um, Travis Etienne, no way. Anyway, we all know who he is.
Kind of, at least.
Well, I mean, if you're a college football fan, you know who he is
Yeah.
because I mean, he was on the two back-to-back national championship, at least appearances. James Robinson's value is going to take a hit, and I think that Etienne's rookie season might be capped a little bit by that.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, you got a rookie quarterback on a team, and what do you do with rookie quarterbacks? You're trying to acclimate them to the game. Also, you have a mostly a college style head coach in Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make Trevor Lawrence comfortable, and when you want to do that, you use the tight end a lot and you dump off to running backs a lot. So, I mean, Etienne's going to get. I would suspect he's going to get at least 12 touches a game, and maybe 5 of those are going to be receptions. So, like, that's points right there.
I mean,
so
if you're in a PPR league, I mean,
yeah,
this is value right there.
yeah.
A lot of those running backs that are good possession running backs and get a lot of catches. I mean, they're super high value. I really like all of them in fantasy. So,
yeah. Anything else draft related you want to mention before we get on to our last topic?
I think we're good.
Okay, we're good.
I'm itching. I'm itching.
All right.
For it.
All right. So before I start all this Rodgers crap, I will give a brief synopsis of what's happened in the last, I guess, not even a week because nothing's really happened since the draft ended. But then I will secede the floor to you. Secede the floor. I will give you the floor to just talk about your quarterback. Oh, here he is with the beanie. Okay, we got you. We get it. Okay, so a lot of people think that all this drama started a couple hours before the draft, but actually we knew that Aaron Rodgers was not super happy with his team going back a couple months. There are many reasons for that. I will get into them in time, but basically 2-3 hours before the draft kicked off last week, all these reports started coming out that sources close to Aaron Rodgers are saying that he's not happy with the team and he's thinking about not coming back at all. So, of course, all the media people that, don't want to talk about, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson's throwing mechanics, they jumped on this like a bunch of sharks with chum in the water and just were going nuts about the reigning NFL MVP and him possibly not wanting to go back to the legendary, historic Green Bay Packers. So, Andrew, from you, just give me your thoughts as a lifelong Packers fan. How are you feeling? Are you okay? Do we need to get some counselors in here to like pep you up a little bit? It's gonna be okay, buddy.
It's mildly terrifying, because, like I said, actually in the draft preview podcast, is that I've been super fortunate with quarterbacks. I went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and I can't even tell you his backup's name. So
you mean they're wait. Jordan Love? You mean the player that started this controversy? I mean, a lot of people say they started it. This is not where it started, but it fed into it. Are you serious? You don't know who Jordan Love is?
Yeah, I don't. I don't know where he went to college. I don't know anything really about him, because Rodgers is the guy. I don't think of any other quarterback.
Okay.
I can't see any other quarterback.
This makes a little bit of sense. As I would call you maybe slightly more than a casual NFL fan, but you are a fan of a successful team. Okay, so much like the Steelers, I most of my friends that love the NFL love the Steelers. Probably only know the one person they picked, and it was the first round pick. It was Harris. So that might be a little bit of context. So I get it now. Although I am surprised to hear you say, given all of the drama, that you don't know who that is, because that he is very much a part. Jordan Love is very much a part of the drama.
I know he's a very big part of the drama, but I just think that most of it is between the organization and Rodgers, and just him feeling like he's been slighted over the past couple of years, not given the weapons that he thinks he deserves. And I think that he has made a lot of really subpar guys, like subpar receivers, look really good. So I could only imagine what he could do with like serious wide receiver talent aside from Devontae Adams. Which is why I think like over the past couple of years, if they would get receivers high up, then he probably would be fine and be happy. But they haven't done that. And so a lot of this drama has stemmed from that. And he just thinks that they don't have a want to win mindset right now. I think that is super terrifying, though, because if Rodgers goes, the Packers are going to plummet. They are going to be so bad. And it's because they don't have great receivers. They have an okay defense, but it's, they needed a lot of help. That's why this year, talking about draft, I was saying, I hope they get defensive backs and receivers and linemen. Those were like the three positions that I wanted them to get. They did go out and do all of that, though. They got cornerbacks, they got a couple offensive linemen, and a couple receivers. So that's at least good, but I don't think it's enough to like keep Aaron Rodgers happy and wanting to stay. And it's just, I'm very curious how it's all going to pan out. I'm nervous, and I just don't go, Aaron. Don't leave. Please don't leave.
Oh, listen.
Oh man.
There's a lot of angles here, and depending on your general philosophy with player empowerment or just the general fan mindset, it actually isn't very pro player. And I like to, at least I want to say that up front, because I acknowledge that what I might say here, I don't really, I'm not really like a just shut up and play kind of person. So Aaron Rodgers' angle, okay? You have to kind of understand where he's coming from, because you look around the league and you see what's happening with Brady. He literally went to a place. They said, please, Tampa said, please come here. We'll do anything you want. He came there and they did everything he wanted, and they won a Super Bowl.
Exactly.
And then once they won the Super Bowl with all of these, mercenaries, hired guns, with all these hired guns, on 1-year deals, going into the next year, they're like, Brady, what do you want to do here? He's like, well, let's just get those guys back.
Just re-roll that, run it back.
So they signed everyone back. They did.
Single one.
So you have Brady, who is older and literally getting everything he wants, and he is in the driver's seat of that franchise, and he deserves it. And you look around the league at other draft, just draft decision. I mean, they told Andy Dalton, the Bears told Andy Dalton that they're probably going to draft a quarterback. Okay, that happens. That's happened for other teams, and you're Aaron Rodgers sitting here, and they didn't tell him about Jordan Love being drafted last year. They traded up to get him. So you don't do that unless you believe in a guy. And so you see all that, and I get it, but listen, what bothers me about this whole situation, and especially about people, and he probably thinks it a little bit himself, even though that's putting words literally in his mouth, and that's not fair. But everybody's saying that the Packers are wasting Rodgers' career. As if he's entitled to championships just because he's good? You play a team sport, and it takes a team to win. I understand wanting to be like having, I understand having the the position. Like, listen, you're Aaron Rodgers. No, I understand having the talent that warrants. Like, I understand wanting to be a part of this conversation, wanting to be a part of the conversations that's directing the team in a certain direction. I understand wanting to win now, but to act like he is entitled to win just because of who he is, I just don't agree with that. It's like no one's wasting his career. If you don't think the Packers want to win, that's like literally how teams make money. They by winning Super Bowls and championships, and that's how people keep their jobs. It's ridiculous to say that the Packers aren't in win now mode. I mean, some teams go into a planned rebuilding mode, But the Packers have been, I mean, it's an organization that their culture is they want to stay consistently good all the time. And guess what? They have been because of moves like trading for Favre and drafting Aaron Rodgers and letting him sit under Favre for 4 years. And now they draft Jordan Love and they're going to have him sit under Rodgers for a couple of years. Like that's how the Packers have always done it. So it should not be a surprise to anyone. And if Aaron Rodgers has a problem with that, it's like, dude. And also, you mentioned like
But
everybody talks.
If you're Aaron Rodgers and you think, okay, I'm going to play for like another 3 years or whatever, he wants to win. He wants to win now. That's what he wants.
Andrew, they went to the NFC Championship game last year. They're winning right now.
I'm talking win the Super Bowl. You know,
BFD. You don't listen. You get a one game away from the big dance. That's not good enough because you want to win the Super Bowl, but it's not like you're struggling to make the playoffs every year. It's not like you're Matt Stafford in Detroit. I mean, that dude. He okay. Think about this. Matt Stafford was played in Detroit for over a decade and was a grinder. He was the heart and soul and the leader of that team. And they stunk the entire time. I think they made the playoffs once or something like that. Matt Stafford, at the very end of all of it, after he's gone through head coach after head coach, new regime, new front office, all this stuff, finally they bring in Dan Campbell, and it's like, okay, listen, like I've been here a long time, like maybe it's time for you guys to get a fresh start. I'm 31, 32 years old. Like it now made sense, and they made a trade with the Rams. But he didn't raise hell. He didn't have all these sources leaking stuff out. He didn't cause a bunch of draft day drama. He's a professional about it. And I didn't actually come into this conversation thinking I would turn into an Aaron Rodgers hater because I'm not. I think he's fantastic. But like there is a right and a wrong way to go about it and still get the same exact result. And to complain that all the Packers haven't drafted good wide receivers and they haven't gotten anybody around him. I went and looked, and they've drafted 4 wide receivers since 2018. Okay, that's not a ton, but they've drafted some. They've also signed free agents like Tavon Austin and Devin Funchess, who are not like they're not going to light up the world, but they're players. They're decent NFL players. They've also drafted 7 offensive linemen in the last 3 drafts. I think 6 of those in the last 2 drafts. So like they're giving him offensive lineman help. All what we were just crushing the Bengals about.
Yeah, they protect him, but
yes, they do protect him. And also, Andrew, Aaron Rodgers signed a 4-year deal in 2018. Okay, during the 2018 season, they fired Mike McCarthy, who had been there for Aaron Rodgers' whole career.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. And they actually did it with 4 games left. So and I guarantee you, and Aaron Rodgers had a problem with McCarthy then. So he was complaining about McCarthy. McCarthy gets fired. They bring in someone new, a young, innovative LaFleur, whatever, innovative-esque type of head coach. I mean, who's like a year younger than Aaron Rodgers, or I don't know, whatever it is. So like. It's not like the Packers are just sitting on their hands and saying, I don't know, Aaron, if you want to win, then go in. They are doing things. And also, it was 2018 where he signed that 4-year deal. I doubt that much has changed since then. And actually, the things that have changed look to be in a positive direction for the Packers, not in a negative direction. So, like, if you had all these problems back in 2018, why are you signing an extension? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like Aaron, some of it's on you, not to just go out and win because you have to play the game, but like take a look around and actually think about how good you have it. You have a fan base, a team that is stable. I mean, it's a stable franchise. Yeah, you want a seat at the table. I get it. A lot of people do. But your job is to play quarterback. You're not a GM. You're not a talent evaluator. I mean, what do you want to do? I mean, like, you're a quarterback. You're a fantastic, like, generational quarterback. But your quarterback,
MVP.
Absolutely, and deserves all of it. But I'm just saying, like, not everybody can be the LeBron James or the Tom Brady of their sport.
I understand that, but I think that Aaron Rodgers, like where he has a strong case in the whole, like he might be acting like a diva right now and might be doing it in a very improper way, but if it gets them to act and actually, go out and get more linemen, get more receivers and stuff like that he thinks he can work with, maybe it might be enough to keep him. So if they aren't going to listen to him last year and do it last year, raise hell so that maybe they do this time. I mean, it could be just something that he was trying. I don't know. He might just stay with the team. But all signs right now are not pointing that way, which is, not great. But I think that when you're, one of those franchise type quarterbacks like the Bradys, the Rodgers, Peyton Mannings of the world, like, it can be okay to try and get what you want because you know that you could put yourself in a position to actually win the big one. And, he's only got one ring. He probably wants more. He's looking over at Brady, who's got all of them. So it's like,
I get it. I get it. And I'm sure the Packers could have done things differently too. Like it's not all. It's nothing. Nothing in life is usually one sided. There's two sides to the story. And who the hell are you and me? You're just wearing a Packers hat. I'm just a guy behind a microphone. Like we don't know anything. Like there could have been actual bad blood type conversations. There could have been. That's totally fair. And we will never know that. But that's how everything is. But it just doesn't seem like things are going. Actually, you know what? This reminds me. I was going to say it doesn't seem like things are occurring in a professional manner. Brett Favre's departure from Green Bay was rather tumultuous as well. I mean, I'm sure you recall. I mean, I don't think Favre wanted to leave.
He didn't. He wanted to play. And that's what he did. He retired 3 times.
Yeah. But the Packers said, no, we're ready for the next era. So I don't know, Andrew. Like it just feels like this is what the Packers do. No one should be surprised. And I think if you're Aaron Rodgers, you signed a contract. If you're unhappy, discuss it. There's a time and a place to do that, and there are certain people that you should be doing that with. It's not on Twitter. It's not to Adam Schefter. And if you're the Packers, like, dude, like, I'm just saying, like, I don't know much. I don't know how much more there is on this. We already probably talked too much about this because we don't know anything. Nothing we talk about is gonna. Well, nothing we ever talk about is gonna result in anything.
No, not at all. It's fine.
Especially not a gain in viewership.
Yeah. XD.
What can we do that would really go viral? What can we do to really spur the put some more coals in the fire?
I don't know, man. I think we're
slowly dying.
My
beer is empty. I need refuel, replenishment.
Did you see this has happened today? Did you see Albert Pujols got released?
Oh gosh. It's funny. I was just in Seattle this weekend and I saw the Mariners play the Angels and I watched Pujols. I think he had 3 at-bats. I remember thinking to myself, you know what? Like, you better take this in because he hasn't been much over the last 10 years, but this dude lit MLB on fire like in the early 2000s. I mean, he was a 3-time MLB MVP. Like, the dude's
he's
a Hall of Famer.
All-time greats. I mean, he's got all the stats.
He is an all-time great. Albert, when I told Lindsay, my fiance, that there was a guy named Albert Pujols, she laughed so hard. I forget that his name is Pujols because it's Albert Pujols. He's a Hall of Famer. Like,
exactly.
And man, I'm just sad. He wants to keep playing.
He does, and I can totally see some team being like,
why not?
We need some ticket sales,
I saw that the only team that I saw that might be a good fit is the White Sox. I don't know shit about the White Sox, so I won't go any further than that. But it would probably be good for a team that needs to sell some tickets.
Yeah,
some tickies,
tickets and jersey sales. You could get a lot out of those.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Mets did with Tebow in their minor league system. I mean, come on, seriously. You know what? I feel bad for Tebow. I don't know how he got onto baseball.
Andrew,
stop it. I'm just saying, the Mets organization brought Tebow on for no reason other than to boost ticket sales for their minor league team. Why Tebow's not going to play in the major leagues
Just
for like
another
5 or
reason to
6
hate the
years.
Mets.
The Mets suck. I hate the
Mets do
Mets.
suck.
All right, I actually don't have a top 3 for it. Do you want one? Do you even want one?
Yeah, I have a top 3 for you.
You do?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you one right now.
Okay.
Top 3 foods to eat over the fire.
Ooh, foods to eat over the fire. S'mores. What do we call the trail pies? Where you
Yeah,
take
do you eat those?
gluten free. I also
Fair
eat
enough.
gluten free s'mores. Everything that I'm saying is gluten free implied here.
Yeah, I guess that was good context.
Gluten free s'mores, gluten free trail pies, and hot dog. There you
Wow.
go.
All right, I'm ready for mine.
Top 3 Dragon Force songs.
Wow. Did you think that out beforehand?
I did. I had it written down. I was like, I'm not losing this one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I know 2 of them, and the third one's going to be tough.
Well,
First of
they're
all, I
all
will
8
say,
minutes long, so it's great.
well, okay, not true. I would say that their first 3 full albums, they're chock full of bangers. But I will say, Cry Thunder, Operation Ground and Pound, which is probably my favorite song. And then I'll say, oh gosh, I want to make sure I get the name of the song right. So I'm gonna pull it up right here. Is that allowed? I think this is a top 3 first. Actually, looking up, it's from their Extreme Power Metal album.
Dude,
It's
they have the most badass names.
okay. The third song on my top 3 will be Heart Demolition. So let me just give you real quickly the names of their albums, and everybody should appreciate this. If you don't know who Dragon Force is, you should go look it up. They're fantastic. They've actually become one of my favorite bands, which I'm surprised to say because I don't know. Most people know them from the one Guitar Hero song.
They were like relatively memey at first because it was like the first meme esque song to get put into Guitar Hero where it was impossibly hard.
Yeah.
In Guitar Hero 3 Through the Fire and
Yeah.
Flames. And that just set them off. Like everybody knew who Dragon Force was pretty much just because of the game.
Hell yeah. All right, so I'm just going to go starting from the first, going all the way up. There are a couple. So Valley of the Damned, of course, classic, right?
Classic.
Sonic Firestorm, Inhuman Rampage. My personal favorite from a name, anyways, Ultra Beatdown. They've got a live album named Twilight Dementia. The Power Within. Okay, that's pretty tame, actually. Then you go Maximum Overload. Killer Elite. Reaching into Infinity. And then Extreme Power Metal. So, like, I mean, come on.
Which album is Fury of the Storm on? Because that's like
that's I think that's their second album. That is wow. I don't even know how we got into baseball talk, let alone Dragon Force talk.
Well, top 3. You get into whatever you want.
You never really know where it's going to go, I suppose. But that is in I think Sonic Firestorm. Yeah, Fury of the Storm. Oh my gosh. Oh, Fields of Despair. Oh, Dawn Over a New World. Oh my gosh, I'm freaking out.
So
they're all so good. Okay, I mean, if you're into it, you're into it, So, all right, that's enough for today. So actually, so for those who care, the next episode we still need to do. Maybe not next episode, but the next couple episodes we still need to do my MLB team reveal, which is I've made progress. Also, we need to get Andrew's thoughts on the Olympic Games, which I feel like we're going to fight over, and NHL playoffs are starting in like 5 days. So like, giddy up, right?
Coming up.
All right. Over and out for now. Everybody be safe, be well, take care of yourselves, take a nap, read a book, get off your phone, and tell someone you love them. Andrew, love you, buddy.
Love you too.
All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.